Hello. Welcome to Saturday Sessions, New Men Rising. I'm Doc Walter. So let's get started, shall we? Wherever you are in the world, if it's morning or afternoon or evening, I welcome you. So, a few things. Let's consider some of them right now. For example, since an early age, you have been uninspired. You have accepted complacency. You accepted you were always going to be an addict. Your pride, your ego has held you back from success. Each of these are lies. It actually took me several years to realize, to kind of actually break down each of these. First, to recognize that they were lies, and then how to change them. I fell into that narrative that we have all been told. Either we've been told by our family, or we've been told by the education system, or we've been told by society that these are the steps you need to take. This is what you need to do, and then be happy with your life. Don't try for excellence. I mean, excellence in certain things, right? We want excellence in school because our GPA is so important to get into universities and so forth, right? Scholarships. So excellence in school, sure. Excellence in sports, absolutely. But what about excellence in life? What are habits, good habits that we should practice daily, that we can be taught, if not by actually our parents or a role model, perhaps something, somebody else can teach us, or ourselves, teach ourselves what is a habit that I like, which is positive, which brings me happiness, which brings me a benefit, and what's perhaps is something that, no, it's been negative. It hasn't brought me any happiness. One of the things that I actually had to accept for certain habits was this idea of fasting. It's an aesthetic practice, fasting. Also prayer. Much later into my adulthood, I really doubled it down on my spirituality. And these were the two things: fasting and prayer. Never really was good at fasting. Voluntarily, not to give up something, please. But not to eat in excess. I started small. I didn't eat in excess. Do I need that snack? Do I need that extra slice of pizza? And then later, giving up certain things for a certain period of time, 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, 40 days. Giving up. For a lot of people, especially if they're Christian, the period before Easter, right? And there's an opportunity for Christians to practice some kind of fasting. That never actually, it interested me, but at the face level, right? And I gave up the easy things. See, chocolate, that's okay, but it's not something that I need every single day. So to say, okay, I'm going to give up chocolate, I was cheating a little bit. Yeah. Let's get real about porn, because that's the reason behind New Men Rising. This army that together we're building to say no to this poison, which has held us back as men, that has destroyed relationships, that right now is is destroying your livelihood. The whole purpose is to change this, change our mentality, change our heart, change our practices. And we're going to transform our lives in doing so. But let's get real. We all have access to the internet. We all go on the internet. Did you know this? 12% of the websites are pornographic. 12%. Now, what does that mean? That means there's numbers here. 24,644 on 172 of those websites are pornographic. That's a staggering number, isn't it? Every second, fix my hat a little bit here, $3,000. Actually comes out to be 3,000 and almost 75 is spent on porn. 28,258 internet users. That's you. That was me using porn. 68 million search engine requests a day are for porn-related content. 35% of internet downloads are porn content. To brush this pandemic, which porn is, into the closet or underneath the rug and to say it's just a bad habit, it's not a big deal. People are, they can live with it and they can live without it. It does no harm. It's good for relationships. It spices up the love life. All of these are myths. They're all lies. They have the complete opposite effect to it. But these numbers kind of speak for themselves. We have a pandemic. Average age for children being exposed to pornography between 7 and 11 years of age. We have men. You're supposedly a man at 18, right? So I'll use that as our baseline here. We have men in their early 20s, university graduates, that are going to the doctor and saying, I can't get an erection. Porn-induced erectile dysfunction. Why? Because perhaps for the last 8 or 9 or 10 or 12 or 14 years, they have been porn users. It's a pandemic. The numbers are real. One of the things I like to do, and I restarted doing this, is I chose an album, a music album, and I started listening to it the whole week. So this past week, I was listening to Bobby Timmons, the jazz artist. He's a pianist, Bobby Timmons. Bobbytimmons. Some critical jazz scholars, critics, they actually called him one of the best underrated jazz performers. Like so many musicians, his story is rather tragic. He died young. Drug and alcohol abuse really haunted him his entire life. But the amount of music that he produced, he started off in the 50s working with the early jazz masters. And he worked with some others. And then he started his own trio, Bobby Timmons. I think it doesn't have to be him. If you choose an album, maybe some album that you like yourself, or maybe choose a new kind of musical genre and experience that a little bit. 5 days, just 5 days, to see what it's like. Listen exclusively for it. Don't jump around. Don't have other musical choices. Why am I saying that? Because I think, like, you know, maybe compare it to food, or if you occasionally will drink a really nice glass of wine, or a good scotch, or just you have a really good meal, right? You don't want to devour that meal. You want to savor it. And if you get really good at eating slowly and enjoying what you're eating, what the meal is, you discover different textures, right? And of course, there's different things that you discover about, maybe in terms of preparation, if you are making the meal itself, or if you're at a restaurant, how the chef has prepared it. The little signature every single time, something slightly different, right? It's the same thing with music. One album, 5 days, listen to it, you will find new things that you didn't hear before, or realizations that you didn't have before. You're going to learn to appreciate the music, the talent of the musicians, and maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you're going to discover that that music is not your music, right? I don't like jazz, but I like this type of genre instead. I'm a Christian, and if you are as well, we know that behind all of the darkness in our minds and in our hearts, the darkness that has um, seemed to consume us and our addiction, behind all of that is God. He desires wholeness. He desires bravery. We need to step up because he desires us to be good. Can we step up? Of course we can. That's one of the central purposes, focuses of New Men Rising. To step up as men, to become the leaders in our families, the leaders in our marriages, leaders in our relationships that we are. We have to discover it in ourselves first. It's there. God's asking us to do certain things. This is one of them. He desires these things. We need to step up. Don't turn away. If God created man, he created us to do something, not sit on our butts. He's calling us to be leaders. If you struggle with pornography, it doesn't make you a bad person. If you struggle with pornography, it doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that you need to struggle a bit more to fight. We're all doing that. We're all struggling. It means that you have, yes, a harmful behavior and it needs to be fixed, but it can be fixed. You're not defined by just one of your actions. You're not defined by just one of your actions. But the harm that pornography does to you, to your relationship, that is real. It has devastating effects on relationships, divorce, domestic violence. It's created a feeling of insecurity in you, isn't it? I mean, like we seek the comfort in a fantasy rather than in the reality. We're insecure. Our junk doesn't work. We have sexual problems with our partner. We can't perform. And again, it's connected to our mind. We have a feeling of worthlessness. It's a cycle, isn't it? So really, that it's a lie that pornography is some kind of harmless activity. Masturbation is a harmless activity. It impacts your family. It impacts your social life. It impacts your work. It impacts your personal finances. Every aspect of your life, if you're spiritual, it impacts that as well. Men, women need us to be their anchor. We have allowed ourselves to be emasculated. Sometimes, yes, by women, but in our culture, in our society, what we watch on television, the movies that we see, we've allowed ourselves to be emasculated. We're weak. And that weakness is reinforced in what we are reading or what we're watching. The opposite actually has to happen. Just as much as we are being asked to step up and be leaders, to be, to take our God-given responsibilities and rights and freedoms, we are being asked. We're being looked up to by the women in our lives, your spouse or your partner, your children, to be the anchor. You have to stop. You have to stop the addiction. I know that it's challenging. I will work with you if you haven't signed up already. I will work with you so that you can become the leader again, or to become the leader that God has given you all the abilities to be, all the skills, the leader that your partner, the leader that your children are looking for. It's important for that because, again, these devastating effects, the devastating effects of porn on every aspect of your life. If we want to just look at it in terms of your personal relationship with your spouse or the personal relationship with your partner, what porn does is it validates all of the negative view, feeling that your partner has about herself. Everything negative that your wife thinks or that your partner thinks, porn has validated that. And so if you brought porn into your relationship to spice up the love life, you have to stop. You have to get it out right now because it's not doing any help. It's actually only harming. It's harming you and it's harming her. Do you really want to harm her? No, I don't think you do. Sex, it's such an intimate act. it's a physical union, but it's an emotional, it's a spiritual union as well. It's joy. Porn and masturbation has none of these things. It has affected your self-esteem. You feel shame, you feel guilt. Instead of being the leader, you've sought isolation, right? Stop. Reverse that trend. Step into the light. Assume your role as the leader. Become the man that God has created you to be. And if you're not a Christian, if you just believe in a higher purpose, it still applies. All of the wonderful skills that you have, all of the strengths that you have, the traits, the character that the universe has given you. You're not tapping into that. You're not taking advantage of that. Reverse the trend that has happened. Bobby Timmons, again, this artist that I was listening to this past week, he started his career with the Art Blakey's band. And then in 1961, he left and he formed the first of several trios and he did his own music. He died in 1974 at the age of 38. So, like I said, young. I wonder, since the COVID-19 pandemic crisis, whatever word you want to use, whatever it's being called this week in the media, I wonder what the numbers for this past week are for COVID-19 induced porn. Why am I saying this? 70% of men 18 to 24 admit to watching porn at least once a week. Well, for the past 2 months, we've been in quarantine or lockdown. I wonder what the number is now. So let me ask you this question. This past week, were you part of that 70%? It's probably right, probably 80. Are you part of that? Don't you want to switch that? Let's switch that out. Let's reverse that. Actually, this is one majority percentage that you don't want to be a part of. Try to stop watching porn for 2 weeks. Now, if you've been a daily porn watcher for 5 or 10 years, this is probably going to be very challenging. Some of you might even think it's impossible. It's not. It will be very challenging. But that's part of the challenge, right? You can do it. Together, I'll help you. We can do it. But reverse that trend. Don't be part of that 70% or 80%. Try 2 weeks. Don't watch porn. And maybe make that commitment now, today, Saturday. 2 weeks. You're not going to watch porn. Maybe do it in chunk it down. Do it in kind of baby steps. If your pornography viewing also accompanies masturbation, it generally does. Don't try to cold turkey both all at once. Well, to quit both at once. Let's start with the pornography, then work on masturbation. But make that commitment now. Why not? Why not? Try. In the process, you will learn things about yourself. During my recovery, I was introduced to certain readings from the Stoics, like Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, from the Desert Fathers. These were monastic communities, hermits. Seneca says people are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are more wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. This is from one of the Stoics, from Seneca. People are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are more wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be frugal. Today, yesterday, this past week, how did you use your time? Was it for the betterment of yourself, personal development? Was it for the betterment of your family? Or were you lazy? You continued to binge watch your shows. You ate more than usual. In terms of the actual pornography and masturbation viewing, how many hours? How did you use your time? Did you spend time with your spouse, with your partner? Were you intimate? I hope so. We have this chance, this very unique chance. We're with each other. And instead of learning and instead of being selfless, I hear more and more stories of people having problems, difficulties, challenges, irritations, frustrations. A regular woman, the reality, the woman in flesh in front of you, and the sex that you can have with that person never is going to compare to the edited woman, the pixels that you're looking at. You know this. You know this. I'm just giving you the reality check. We tend to forget sometimes, or we push the back of our mind. As an addict, how do you know if you're an addict? Let's get real. Let's actually look at some of these symptoms. You can't stop. Maybe you spent money. You're depressed. Dick doesn't work. Right? Your porn taste has escalated. You have low energy. Your brain kind of seems like it's in a fog. Does any of that sound familiar to you? I know it does. If not all six, perhaps three of them or four of them. And you're an addict. We don't really realize how much porn has affected us. But all of this can be undone. It all can be undone. Time. How much time have you wasted? It's not that time spent matters. I want you to think about it this way. The exact amount of time, it's the quality. It's the quality. So if you're listening to music, is it quality music? Are you learning something from that? If you are journaling, Is it quality journaling? If you're reading something, hopefully for personal development, is it quality? Right? So it's not the amount of time, it's the quality of time. Part of that trying to get time is having a system, having a schedule, knowing what your triggers are, and putting in place a very systematic approach to those triggers. When you have relapsed, to track the emotions. Why? What? How? And in doing that, this systematic approach, you are able to expose what your defects are, right? What are the deficiencies? What do you need to fix? And then you fix them. And in the process, guess what? You're building something that's called virtue. Virtue. What is a virtue? It's a trait. It's a quality, a moral good. Okay? Build a system, create a virtue, change. I know that it sounds simple, but guess what it is? The question though is, are you willing? Are you willing, not ready? You can say you're ready, but are you willing to take that first step? Are you really ready and willing to get out of your comfort zone? You got to let go of your crutches, man. You gotta let go of your crutches. You gotta step out from the sidelines. You need to get in the game. Get in the game. Let's do this. Life is for the big boys. It's for men. And for so many of us men, we have, for half of or more of our lives, been acting like boys. And once I've gotten on that other side, as a recovered addict, and looking back, I'm so mad at myself. And I'm so passionate about helping you and anybody else. I don't want you there anymore. I want you with me on the other side. I want to build this army of men who have transformed their lives, transformed their relationships. Letting go of porn was, of course, it was the best decision that I made, but it completely uncovered a brand new dimension to my life. I had increased self-belief. That's so important. I had awareness of the world. I had self-discipline for the first time in years. Look, porn is a novelty. It's an instinct. It's unlimited clicks and swipes. It's fake. Come on, stop. And see, when you say, oh, I can't, and you're going back into the room and you're jerking off, or you've got 2 minutes, and so you'll pop onto a cam site, you're believing still these lies. The biggest one is your own lie that you can't change. You can. But you have to take that first tentative step forward. You have to get past that fear that your life is going to be somehow less exciting. Is your life exciting now? No, it sucks. It's shit. Be honest with yourself. So how do you change? Create a systematic approach. That's actually one of the things we do at New Men Rising. There's some commonalities, but each guy has a different approach because it's individual. I want to work with you. You understand? I want you to get past that fear, to take that first step, to start transforming your life. But more importantly, I mean, fixing your mind and fixing your heart and fixing your body, rewiring your brain. That's just one of the very first things that takes place during, especially if you do a 30-day challenge. You need to do this. What else can I say? Porn has robbed you of so much. It's robbed me of so much. I took risks now that I never did before because of fear, because of a limited belief. Um, think about that. What are some things you want to do, but yet you haven't done yet? I really think that partly that would be related to your porn addiction. It's holding you back. Step out on the sideline. Move forward. Move past the fear. Look, if you've just found the channel, or maybe if you've following a little bit of stuff I put on Instagram or on Twitter, you can see the information I'm giving. You can sense my passion, I hope, on this. I want you to book a call, aaronwaltercoaching.com, 30-minute call, okay? I want to work with you. That's find out where you are, and let's create some tangible small steps. Today is Saturday. The day itself doesn't matter. Your best life starts today, okay? Tomorrow starts today. Be courageous. As Les Brown says, there's greatness within you. There's greatness within us. Let's step forward together and live the best life. Our tomorrow starts today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Every Saturday, we're going to do Saturday sessions. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Work your way through some of the modules. Leave your comments. Book a clarity call with me, aaronwaltercoaching.com. Follow me on Instagram, New Men Rising. Follow me on Twitter. Be part of the army, New Men Rising. You can do this. I have a belief in you. I'm proud of you. Your tomorrow starts today. Blessings.